presents this woman to be married to this man.
Her family and I do.
You all may be seated. Welcome, friends and family, both who are joining us here in person and those of us joining us via live stream. We have come together to celebrate the joining together in marriage of Caroline Gems and Phillip Smith. Caroline, Phillip, it's finally here. Your wedding day. The wait is over. All the planning, all the preparing, all the emailing, flower picking, all the dress fitting, it's all done. Because of how busy a wedding can get, it's easy to get swept away in all the planning, all the preparing, everything that has to go into this day. Everything about this day, the invitation, the decorations, the music, the guests, they're all things about a wedding that make this day appear to be meaningful and beautiful. But the most beautiful and meaningful thing about a wedding is standing right in front of us right now. It's the two of you in the presence of God, committing your love to each other for the rest of your lives together. So it's so important to slow down and really take in everything that's going on today. So Phillip, Caroline, pause for me. Let's take this all in. Yeah, go ahead and look around. Take a look at this church, your family, your friends. Take a look inside the camera, see if you can see the people joining us from miles and miles away. And also take a look at each other. This is the longest you've taken to get ready for anything, and you both look amazing. All right. I've known Phillip for the past 13 years. His family and my wife's family have taken a beach trip together every Thanksgiving, and they've actually been doing this for over 20 years, and I got to be just added to the mix one day. Being a part of that trip for over a decade, I can attest to how much fun we have each year. Ping pong, football, bike rides, late night games, amazing food. It's really the best way to spend Thanksgiving. One of the requirements given to me when I married my wife was that I'm contractually obligated to spend Thanksgiving with the Smiths, the Sievings, and the Teedies for the rest of my life. Caroline, as part of your vows today, you must agree to the same terms. So please listen to these vows to Phillip and respond by saying, I do. Caroline, as a promise to Phillip and to God, do you vow to spend every Thanksgiving with the Smiths, the Teedies, and the Sievings, forsaking your family and anything else you find important or meaningful, for as long as you both shall live? I tried. Mary and Janet, I tried. All right? It was worth a shot, right? At least let's alternate, okay? Let's do that. We want you there. It's been so fun getting to know Phillip over the past 13 years. He welcomed me in right away. He's always been a sincere and friendly face every time I got to see him. He's also been such a warm, welcoming presence for my wife and my kids as well. He's also extremely smart and extremely athletic, which had my wife and I wondering for so many years, who can we set Phillip up with? Who do we know that we can set Phillip up with to go out on a date, see what happens, you know? We gave it a few tries and nothing worked out because God had someone else in mind for Phillip. And then in walks Caroline. From everything I've heard about these two, their relationship just clicked right from the start. The first date, I heard that Caroline talked the whole time. Phillip maybe said 3 words edgewise, which made Caroline know, this is the man. This is the man that I want to spend my life with. The guy that won't interrupt me, right? But seriously though, after their first time together, I heard she texted a friend and said, I've met the man I'm going to marry. She knew right away that Phillip was the one. And their relationship just kept getting better from there. Their second date, they just didn't want to leave. I heard that they went to this bar and they closed down the bar. The people were putting chairs up on tables all around them. They were the last 2 people there, and they had to basically kick them out. And then their 5th date was skydiving, because couples that jump out of planes together stay together, right? And then they've ran marathons together. They've traveled Europe together. They've hiked 5 days into Machu Picchu and Peru together. Life is an adventure. And these two have found the person that they want by their side as they strive to make the most of that adventure. Their chemistry has not come without some hiccups though, right? When Phillip tried to kiss Caroline after their second date, what I heard was he got straight up rejected. Caroline said, I just met you, man, so let's back off, right? And then it took some time for him to muster up some courage to try again, which got Caroline wondering, when's this going to happen? And from what I hear, maybe she initiated that first try at a kiss, right? And then on the hike to Machu Picchu, what I heard was that Phillip maybe had some tummy troubles. First, I asked Caroline for toilet paper 10 times. I heard on the 5th time he got a roll of toilet paper thrown right at his face and said, "Get out of this tent." Like that's some of the hiccups they've had in time together. But through the ups, through the downs, the times of rest, the times of adventure, their love for each other has continued to grow to where God has brought you both to this place where you're at today. Phillip and Caroline, you are now entering into the sacred bonds of marriage. Marriage has been a part of the Christian tradition, dating even back before the time of Jesus Christ came to this earth, with the first wedding being officiated by God in the book of Genesis in the Bible. In Genesis 2:24, we read about God's intention for marriage. It says, "This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one." In the New Testament book of Ephesians, chapter 5, we read that the depth of the commitment of marriage is so deep and profound that it's supposed to reflect the commitment that God has for those of us who believe in him. See, God is committed to his relationship with us. He's faithful to us through the good times and the bad, just as in marriage, you are to be show mercy and forgiveness when wrong, as you show mercy and forgiveness to each other. And is severe in all opposition, just as you are to love each other in all circumstances. It has been my prayer for both of you and for us that your marriage would reflect the love and grace and commitment that God has with us. And that we understand and let your marriage be founded upon this promise and this commitment that God has for us for the rest of your lives together. So Caroline and Phillip, today you're joining your lives together into one. To our side over here, we've got your marriage license. God is the one who spiritually unites husband and wife together. And another layer to the marriage commitment is that we actually showed the world about this amazing love and commitment that God has to us through our commitment to each other as well. So right now, Caroline and Phillip are going to be signing their marriage license with 2 witnesses, and I'm going to invite those 2 to come to the stage now. What I'd like to do is to invite those of you who are sitting in these seats or those of you joining us online, while we're signing this marriage license and the music is playing, just shoot up a quick prayer for the couple. Pray for their commitment to each other. Pray for patience and endurance. Pray for love. We'll back together in just a moment. Traditionally, one set, the couple then respond saying, "I do." And then another set where they either repeat after the pastor or read their own vows, which we'll be doing today. I like to explain the meaning of vows before we get into them in every wedding that I officiate, because vows are meaning in marriage. They would give marriage the foundation on which it's built. The first vows that you hear today are from Phillip and Caroline to God. Marriage is first and foremost not a commitment between 2 people. It is a commitment to God. It's acknowledging that God created marriage and that God is glorified by the proper reverence of the marriage covenant in our lives. So Caroline and Phillip, when you respond to the next vows by saying, "I do," you're not saying "I do" to each other. You're saying "I do" to God as a vow to him for the commitment you're making today. So with that understanding of marriage in mind, please listen carefully to the vows you're promising to each other and you're making before God today, and respond by saying, "I do." Phillip, as a promise to God, do you take Caroline to be your wife, to live together in the holy covenant of marriage, to love her, comfort her, honor her, and keep her, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, be faithful to her, so as long as you both shall live?
I do.
Caroline, haciendo una promesa a Dios, acepta a Phillip como su esposo para vivir juntos en el santo pacto del matrimonio. Lo amarán, lo consolarán, lo honorarán, lo cuidarán, en la salud y la enfermedad, sobre todas las cosas, y serán fieles a él mientras ambos viven?
I do.
I have no idea what I said, but after the vows to God, we now move on to Philip and Caroline, the vows that they will be making to each other. You guys could come a little closer for this one. Marriage should be seen as a blessing. More specifically, marriage is the opportunity to be a blessing to each other. Philip, when Caroline is sick, you have the opportunity to bless her with kindness. Caroline, when Philip has a tough day, you have the opportunity to bless him with encouragement. When one of you is worn out or tired or hurting, when you're going through some of your toughest times, you both have the opportunity to be a blessing to each other through all of it. Marriage is a constant opportunity to bless each other with the strength that God gives you. And it's not always going to be easy, but it's all an opportunity to demonstrate love for each other through any and every circumstance. Now, love is not something that we learn on our own. It's something that God has demonstrated for us in the person of Jesus Christ. Romans 5:6-8 tells us that while we were still weak, at just the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. For one will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare even to die. But God shows his love for us that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. God loved each and every one of us so much that he was willing to do whatever it took. He was willing to give all he had and lay down his life to show us how much he loves us. That's the gospel message. It's the good news that God has to tell each and every one of us here today. Although at one point we were far from God, separated from him by our sin, he loved us so much that he sent his son Jesus to bridge the gap and bring us back to himself. It's through Jesus' selfless act of love that we have the model of how to love each other. So in marriage, a husband and wife no longer put their own interests first. They put the spouse before themselves. Their sacrificial love is a mirror image of what we explained in the gospel message, of how Jesus put us first by sacrificing himself for us. So let that understanding of Jesus' self-sacrificial love be the foundation for the vows today. Today, Caroline and Philip will be sealing their commitment to each other through the exchanging of vows and rings. These rings will be will be a lasting physical sign of their promise to each other. So I'd like to read something, though, before we start that up. This is something special that the bride and groom have asked me to read before we get into this. And here it is. We really appreciate the support and friendship from all our friends and family, both here and watching at home. However, we've left out someone special. This family member is furry, brown, and has a wet nose. Yes, I mean Mars. Mars has been Caroline's constant companion over the past few years, and he has recently been learning how to call Philip one of his parents as well. It is in Mars' honor that I share the following thoughts on how being in love is like owning a dog. On cold winter nights, love is warm. It lies between you, lives, breathes, and makes funny noises. Love begs you for attention all day long with its needs. Love needs to be fed so it will grow and stay healthy. Love is playful and happy. Love makes messes. Love leaves you little surprises here and there. Love needs a lot of cleaning up after. It may break a few things accidentally in this passion for life, but you can never be mad at love for long. Sometimes love will run you around the block and leave you panting, breathless, pulling you in different directions at once, or wind itself around and around until you are all tangled up and you can't move. Throw things away, and love will bring them back again and again and again. Love doesn't like being left apart for long. So when you come home, love is always happy to see you. But most of all, love needs love. Lots of it. And in return, love loves you back and never stops. Love is unconditional. Thank you, Mars. That is a first for me. I've not yet seen a dog walk down the aisle. That's perfect. Yeah. That's what said. Almost there. All right. Thank you. Please take this ring and place it on Caroline's left hand. And then read these vows that you are making to her today.
I, Philip, take you, Caroline, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poor, in sickness and in health. I vow to cherish you, respect you, comfort you, and encourage you, in hard times and the good times. I promise to catch the moths that fly in the house, and release them outside because neither of us want to hurt them. Caroline, I love you so much, I can't put it in words. I'm so fortunate to have found someone as loving, caring, passionate, happy, and optimistic as you. I'm a better person because I'm with you. I'm so thrilled to grow our relationship and spend the rest of our lives together. I love you.
Caroline, here's Philip's ring. You place it on his left hand. And then read your vows that you're bringing for Philip.
So I had my real vows in my work computer, and I didn't have the charger, and the computer ran out of battery, so I wrote these an hour ago, but it's very Carolina of me. I know I say this a lot, but I think you're perfect. I think if I had imagined you, I wouldn't have imagined you better than you are. In fact, I think my dad made it to heaven, and he asked God for a favor, and then you showed up. You probably don't want me to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway, and Robbie already said it, so I guess it doesn't matter. I knew I would marry you pretty early on. I actually remember meeting you and thinking that you would be my husband, and here we are now. And so I want to promise you today that I will always love you as much as I do right now, that I will always support you, respect you, take care of you, and I'll even try to be patient, even if I can't be as patient as you are.
Beautiful vows. And now, let me say one final word of blessing over your marriage. May God bless you and your home. May you be prepared to continue to give of yourselves to each other in sincere and complete selflessness. May you be able to love and forgive and experience more and more joy for the rest of your lives together. And may God strengthen your marriage and forever be your Savior, your Lord, and your leader. Caroline and Philip, you are now beginning your married life together. As you have agreed in the presence of God to live together forever in marriage, having given and pledged your love to each other, and having declared your love by the giving and receiving of a ring, I now pronounce you husband and wife. And what God has joined together, let no man separate. Philip, you may kiss your bride. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Phillip Smith. And for all of our guests, please, you may stand up and head your we're going to do a celebration for the bride and the groom outside the back doors. So feel free to do that before the bride and groom exit out, and we'll get a nice photo op. We'll come back to this. Yeah, we'll do more pictures. Yeah, we'll do more later. Wait, like after a second.
Give me a second, so. That's it. Yes.